response if you're working on a pair of quality studio monitors. Sure. Sure. Well, you've already done step one, which is you have a computer and a microphone. You can't really record yourself if you don't have something like that. There are other kinds of uh, recording machines out there and things you could buy, but if you have a computer and a microphone, you've already done step one. Step two, it all depends on the kind of music you're making. A lot of people, maybe they play guitar or maybe they play drums or some other kind of type of music. And so, really, you've already got that, so you can record it. But now you need your software. You need that DAW. And the question is, what what kind of software do you want to go for, and what's your budget? A lot of people don't have huge budgets, especially when they're first starting out. And I think it's a huge ask to say to someone, well, you've never recorded anything before. Go ahead and drop $600 on Pro Tools. That's just way above and beyond, and it's just not smart. So decide on a piece of software. I like two pieces of software for real beginners. The first one is if you have a Mac, GarageBand. It's like $10. That's a great digital audio workstation to start with. So download that software if you have a Mac. If you don't have a Mac, you could also use Audacity, which is not as robust of a program as GarageBand. Audacity is very simple. It's about like, hey, you can record an audio waveform and make some little edits to it and arrange things a little bit, and that's about the limitation of it. But regardless, get a piece of software. Once you get that, you're ready. Yeah, go ahead. Ooh, yes, I can do that. How about that?
I mean, I have this beautiful chocolatey voice, and I want to make sure everyone can hear it.
Yeah.
Okay, so to go back to what we were talking about, music production. I'm brand new to music production. I want to get started. I have a laptop and I have a mic. So really, the next big step is I need a DAW, and so Audacity and GarageBand. You think those are probably like the two best bets for just like a brand new, like a tech dummy like me?
Absolutely, because you don't want to have a situation where you get a DAW. Everybody has an opinion on their DAWs, but if you get something that's too complex, you're going to get overwhelmed and you're going to get in the way of what you really want to do is just start, songwriting and recording what you've been working on. So that's really the next step. And so after that, it's just a matter of starting to learn either of those programs and learn, okay, how do I just set up my microphone and set up my speaker, my monitoring system, or my headphones and listen to what I'm doing and then just record something into it. That's really kind of the next step is to just start just doing it.
So what like okay, if I'm writing a song, that would typically be like I would record my vocals and then I could basically synthesize the instruments like the drums and something else right in the DAW.
Yeah, so what you're talking about is what a lot of people would do is work with MIDI, and that's it's basically a program, programming notes and things. You wouldn't necessarily be able to do that so well in Audacity. That's why I'd really encourage people, especially Mac users, to use GarageBand. So if you wanted to have, if you wanted to synthesize background music, and add drums or any kind of bass, and you don't play bass guitar or something like that, you would need to use MIDI. And the great thing is and I don't want to get too complex here, but there's a thing called a MIDI controller, and that might be if you were really serious about playing a bunch of kind of background and filling things in, you would want to get a MIDI controller, and you can get a pretty decent MIDI controller for under $100. And essentially, what that is it's like a keyboard, but all it does is allow you to program notes in a digital audio workstation. So even if you don't have that, though, the great thing about a program like GarageBand is you can actually click in GarageBand, and if I had it up here, I would show you, but you can actually click and say, okay, I'm going to play this note, I'm going to play this note, and you can even use your keyboard, your regular old computer's keyboard to kind of program essentially what it is, those notes, and they'll play them back to you. There's a artist who's called Deadmau5 that a lot of people have might be fans of or have heard of, and he doesn't.
I'm a big fan of his stuff on his videos on Facebook. Man, I love his stuff that comes through my feed. That guy is he knows how to promote, which I think is half the battle for a DJ.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And the thing is he doesn't actually play an instrument. He doesn't have keyboards and all these kinds of things. When he's putting a track together, he's just clicking around with his computer and his keyboard and all these kinds of things. So you can absolutely do that, and that would be sort of the next step. So okay, if you had your vocal, you record your vocal in there, and then now you're ready. Okay, I want to add some kind of bass line. We'll go into your GarageBand in this case, and hopefully you know a little bit about music. You know what key you're in. If you're working in C, you can then program something that sounds pleasant, and just go from there. And it's amazing, Andy, the technology that exists today that allows it gives people orchestras at their fingertips, and so you can really, the sky's the limit from there in what you want to do, in what you want to program.
So what DAW do you use, or what DAWs do you use?
I am a big fan of Logic Pro. That is the DAW I use, and to kind of describe it, it's essentially GarageBand on roids. That's really the best way to describe it. It's got everything that GarageBand has, but it's more professional. It's designed to, you can mix an entire song, and you can do all. You have more options than you would have with GarageBand. Again, that said, I wouldn't disparage GarageBand because there are artists out there, and I'm forgetting the name of. There's I think a rapper. He made an entire album on GarageBand and released it, and was moderately successful. I think it was pretty successful with it. But what I use Logic Pro, and it's one of those things where it was a natural step for me, because when I started out, I did start out with GarageBand, and I started out exactly the way I've just been talking to you about, Andy. I had a microphone, a computer, and I didn't even have a MIDI controller. So I was just kind of playing around with things. And then slowly but surely, I added a little piece of gear here and there. And then I eventually reached a point where I was like, you know what? I'm comfortable enough with GarageBand. I'm ready to take the next step. And that's why I moved to Logic Pro.
Yeah, so I'm looking at it in the App Store right now. It's $200, so it still is a lot. Well, it's cheaper and probably more user-friendly than Pro Tools.
Oh, well, that yes, absolutely. And the thing is, Andy, is like that $200 price tag when you compare it to, and I don't want to turn this into a Logic Pro commercial, but that $200 price tag when you compare it to some of the other digital audio workstations out there, what you get with Logic Pro it's tremendous. And especially for folks who might be like you in that, you don't play drums, you don't necessarily have all different kinds of instruments that you're going to be recording. You want to make use of MIDI and programming electronically. Well, Logic Pro out of the box gives you access to so many different sounds and loops and all these kinds of things that that you can use to really really make some amazing projects and put them together. So that's why I do think that that's a good step. But the big thing that I'm a fan of, Andy, is, and I was talking, when we started off and I was talking about my acoustic treatment, is piecemeal. So build your studio as you need things and as you're ready to move on. Because I think a mistake some people make is they get so excited. They're ready. They've got the songs and they're ready to record, and they're gonna win a Grammy. They're gonna get on SoundCloud. They're gonna do all this great stuff, and they just buy too much, and they get into the culture, the gear culture, of, well, you have to have this best thing, and you have to have the fanciest DAW and all this kind of stuff, and it gets in the way because it's like, well, you've got so many different pieces, when it's like, hey, just focus on the song, man. Focus on recording one track.
The craftsman, not the craftsman's tools, right?
Exactly. I time and time again, it's the musician, it's the producer, it's the mixer, it's not the gear. Now, can high-end gear help you, and will it help you sound better? Absolutely. But if you don't know how to use it, or if you've never used a compressor before, well, why would you go and spend $300 on a compressor? It just doesn't make any sense. So really, for me, it's build. So start with GarageBand, get your MIDI controller, do what feels good and what the kind of music you're making calls for, and then slowly but surely upgrade when you're ready. And I think you're going to have a lot more success doing that than you would if you just went crazy and got overwhelmed with everything.
Awesome. So I think that's a great place to leave it. I have my shopping list. I know what I need. I want to start music production. Not very many, a pretty small list of things I need to get started. So next week, we're going to continue on this topic, review what we went over today, because I understand we had an audio issue at the early part of the podcast. So
Yeah.
Next week, we're going to review a little bit what we went over, and then maybe delve in just a little bit deeper on how to get started with just your first song, just like the nitty-gritty kind of underlying, it's a simple 3-step process to just get started, creating your first song. So that's what we're going to go over next week. Scott, I want to thank you for helping me out here.
Oh, for sure. Thanks, Andy.
Yeah, and hope you have a great afternoon.
You too, man. Have a good one.
Take care. Hey, guys.
Hey, dude.